Yo, welcome back. This is Support Via Quirk Larceny by Flapjack09, Chapter 12, Quirk Buffet. As soon as All Might heard the lockdown announcement from the speaker system, dozens of blue ropes appeared from the floor and ensnarled everyone at the gala. This had to have been the security system. Iguana Island was the only place with fortification tight enough to hold him, but that just begged the question, who could have triggered the security in the first place? All Might would get his answer as a large man with red hair and a mask made of metal strode into the room with two lackeys. Attention guests and residents of Iguana Island. You can call me Wolfram, and I'm taking this entire island hostage. The crowd began to panic at that statement, but they shut up as Wolfram pulled out a gun and fired a blank into the air. No need to worry. As soon as we get what we need, we'll be gone. But first, we need a little help. Wolfram walked over to where David and Sam were tied up. He picked them both up and threw them over his shoulder. "What are you doing, Wolfram?" David yelled as he was carried off. "Why are you here?" "Plans changed, David. Now, be a good hostage and cooperate. It'd be a shame if something happened to your daughter." Wolfram laughed as he reached the elevator. All Might only got a few moments of silence before someone else entered the room. As soon as he entered, a feeling of pure fear and dread engulfed All Might. The kind of fear he could recognize anywhere. All for One. Well, if it isn't the #1 hero, tied up like a common crook he captures on a daily basis. All for One mocked as he strode up to All Might. "All for One," All Might spat with all the venom he could muster. "Why are you here?" All for One called upon a quirk that produced a soundproof bubble around the two of them. "I'm only here to take what's rightfully mine, and for once, I'm not just talking about your quirk." All Might let out a snarl. "Try as you might, you and I both know you'll never be able to take One for All." "Maybe not yet, but there's still one way to know for sure." All for One clasped his hand around All Might's face to try and take his quirk. After a few moments, he stopped and his grin widened. "I can sense a quirk, but it's not One for All. You found a successor, didn't you, Toshinori?" All Might's face paled as All for One laughed and continued. "Muscle augmentation, a useful ability. Such a shame it bonded to the embers of your dying quirk. No matter. Once I kill you in front of Izuku Midoriya, that'll break his spirit enough to let me take the quirk I've so desperately deserved." All Might's face grew angrier. "You'll never— Wait, young Midoriya? Don't play dumb, you blonde buffoon. Making your successor the boy with the same quirk as mine just to spite me. I mean, who else could have given you this muscle quirk? You're smarter than I thought, but not smart enough." This reminded All Might of an important fact regarding All for One. When given the option, All for One will pick the single most petty choice, every single time. That was the reason he went after Nana's husband, and the same reason why he didn't just kill him right now. This gave All Might an idea. It may cost him his dignity, but he would do anything to buy more time. "Do what you want with my successor, All for One, but know this. As long as these tufts of hair remain on my head, peace and heroism shall endure," All Might said as he gestured to the V-shaped hair tufts. All for One let out a cocky smirk. "Well then, why don't we fix that?" All for One kneeled over All Might and began picking apart his hair tufts, one strand at a time. Oh yeah, this would buy a lot of time. "What do you see?" Melissa asked May as she used Zoom to peer down at the gala. "Everyone's tied up, including our classmates and All Might. Some guy took David and Sam, and it looks like All for One is plucking the hairs off All Might's V-shaped tufts one by one." That got Izuku's attention. "What? He can't do that. Those are iconic." Melissa just looked confused. Wait, who's All for One? He's Izuku but evil, Ribbit, Suyu clarified. Okay, that tells me everything I needed to know, Melissa said. I have a plan. We make our way to the main control center on the top floor, we disable the security system, and then Uncle Mike can beat up the bad guys. Sound good? Izuku gave a thumbs up. That's a good plan because it involves me supporting the heroes for once. May nodded in agreement. And I don't have to wear this stupid thing. She tore off her dress to reveal that she was wearing her coveralls and tank top underneath. Suyu glared. You were just looking for an excuse to take that off. Yup. Now, Izuku, hand me my babies. Sure thing. Izuku reached in the hammer space and pulled out a jetpack, grappling hook, and laser gun. Suyu glared even harder at Izuku. You're a disgrace to airport security, Ribbit. Izuku blushed. Thanks, I try. He turned to Melissa. So, how many floors do we have to climb to reach the control room? Melissa smiled. About 200. I know that sounds like a lot, but since this building's made almost entirely of steel, metalwork can help us out. To demonstrate, she melted a layer of metal floor around her, then created a wave of liquid metal below her feet. Everyone, hop on! When everyone boarded the wave, it took off and began to ascend the staircase in the blink of an eye. To get to the next set of stairs, we have to make it through the botany lab. May looked around in excitement. What kind of plant babies do you grow here? You know the plant from Little Shop of Horrors? We tried to mass-produce those once. Wait, wasn't that plant a metaphor for capitalism? Izuku asked. Melissa smiled solemnly. Yeah, we only realized that after I ate the fifth scientist. Let's just keep going. I'd rather not serve as a metaphor for anything, Suyu urged. Not so fast, a voice called out from the other stairwell. The group turned to see a short, round man and a tall, skinny man blocking the exit. Diago and I were given orders from Wolfram to kill on sight, and that's what we're going to do. As soon as Nobu finished that sentence, Diago's skin turned purple and he morphed into a ferocious bear-like beast and charged at them. But before he could make contact, Izuku yoinked his quirk away and changed it back to normal. What did you do? Diago asked angrily. I took away your quirk, Izuku answered, his tone full of boredom. We don't have time for this, just let us get by. Like hell I will. May, do the thing. May activated her jetpack and launched Diago. The jetpack exploded on impact, knocking him out. Nobu then began running circles around the group. You may have gotten him, but you'll never catch me. Izuku, this guy's boring. Can you take his quirk? May asked. Izuku held out his hand and made a few pulling motions, but Nobu wouldn't slow down. I couldn't get a good grip on him. He's too fast. Suyu, can you help me? Ribbit. Okay. Suyu extended her tongue and laid it on the ground, which caused Nobu to trip and fall when he stepped on it. Izuku quickly yoinked his quirk while he was down. Now, with very little speed to his name, Suyu charged up fluorescence and kicked Nobu right in the back of his head, knocking him out. These guys are a joke, May said. I mean, this isn't even Japan. Why didn't they bring guns or anything? You just had to say guns, Izuku said as he raised Bubble Shield. That was like 10 minutes ago, May protested. Izuku and the gang were currently facing a group of gunmen perched on the top of the staircase. Bubble Shield was tough, but it couldn't handle any more than 142 bullets, and they were quickly approaching that number. Don't worry, I got this, Melissa stated confidently, as she called upon metalwork. Suddenly, the barrels of all the guns began to melt and twist into bow ties before hardening again. The gunmen did not question this, however, as they were trained to shoot first and ask questions later, so they did not question why their guns stopped doing the one thing guns were supposed to do. Suyu charged up fluorescence yet again and jumped up to each of the gunmen, taking them out with a single kick. When she got to the top of the staircase, she was met with a pink-haired man with swords growing out of his skin. "You want to test your luck, kid?" Swordkill asked with a quiet fury in his voice. "I don't have to, Ribbit," Suyu replied. "Izuku, do the thing." Yoink! The swords on Swordkill's body disappeared, and his expression shifted to one of sadness as he hung his head and slowly walked down the stairs. "Okay, you win. I'm going home," he said, clearly trying to hold back tears. Izuku frowned as he watched him leave. "I kind of feel bad for him." Suyu turned to Izuku as emotionlessly as possible. "He tried to kill us for money." To be fair, who hasn't done some morally questionable things for money? Suyu was the only one to raise their hand at that statement. "Alright, the control room should be on the next floor. Sue, do you hear anything?" Melissa asked. Suyu concentrated on breathing through her chest to amplify her hearing. "There are 3 people up there, Ribbit. They're having a conversation, but I can't make anything out. Okay, we need a plan. We just have to have Izuku take the bad guy's quirk, Croak." "We don't need a plan." Izuku ran up to the control room and reached out to take Wolfram's quirk, but he was blindsided as a chunk of metal flew from the wall and attached itself to his hands. "Is that really the best you can do?" Wolfram mocked. "My lackeys might be a total jokes, but I ain't. Just stay there until David gets the device, and I won't have to kill you." "Never!" Melissa yelled as the rest of the group entered the control room. "You give me back my dad right now, or I'll melt that stupid mask off your face." "Melissa, I made a horrible mistake," David yelled. "It's my fault the villains are here in the first place." Melissa stared at her dad in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" Wolfram groaned. "Ugh, let me break it down for you real simple. David thought All Might was getting weaker, so he built a quirk amplification device. The Iguana Island board said it was too dangerous and locked it up. David hired us to help him steal it, not knowing we were real villains. Then, he got cold feet at the last second, so we had to rely on Sam to get us in, because he also wants the Q80 for reasons I don't care about." "I wanted recognition for my achievements," Sam clarified. "Like I said, I don't care. Anyway, this exposition dump is boring me. Do you have the Q80 yet?" David pulled an iron suitcase out of the wall. "Yes, just please don't hurt my daughter." Wolfram swiped the suitcase and pulled out a gun, which he pointed at David. "No need. You already make a perfect hostage." Before Wolfram could do anything else, the gun melted in his hands and the liquid metal covered his eyes before solidifying. "I know how quirks like yours work," Melissa said, as she walked towards Wolfram in a subtle rage. "You can't control what you can't see." She melted a large chunk of the ceiling and sent it all at Wolfram, which encased his entire body in a metal burrito. May let out an impressive whistle. "Damn, Mel, that was badass." Melissa gave a sheepish grin as she melted the metal covering Izuku's hands and went over to pick up the briefcase. "Oh, it was nothing. Do you mind helping me turn off the security?" "You bet! I can't wait for this shit show to end." Suddenly, a purple portal opened in front of Melissa. A hand shot out of the portal and snatched the briefcase before disappearing through the same portal. All heads turned as the elevator opened, revealing All for One holding the briefcase in one hand and dragging along a tied-up All Might in the other, with Kurogiri at his side. "Oh, trust me, this show is just beginning." "All for One," Izuku snarled. "What have you done to All Might, besides pluck every hair off his tufts one by one?" "Oh, I haven't done much to him yet, and if you want it to stay that way, you'll give me one for all." Izuku paused momentarily. "Sorry, did I hear that right?" "Don't play dumb with me, boy. I know how All Might thinks." Izuku doubted that statement. "But if you insist, we can do this the hard way. All for One said as he held up the QAD menacingly. Izuku wasn't sure what to say at first, but the looks he was getting from Mei and Tsuyu convinced him to play along to buy time. Okay, I'll give you one for all. Just let me just find it. He mimed digging through an imaginary trash can before he turned into a lizard. Whoops, wrong one. He tried again, then turned into a sludge monster. Whoops, wrong again. I just can't keep track of these quirks. Relatable, right? As Izuku kept pretending to grab the wrong quirk, All Might's attention was brought to Mei and Melissa, who were deactivating the security system. As Melissa's hand covered over a big red button, she turned to All Might. They shared a silent nod of understanding, and Melissa pushed the button, undoing All Might's restraints. Before All for One could comprehend what just happened, All Might yelled out, "Texas Smash!" and uppercut All for One through the roof. All Might wasted no time in jumping after him. Kurogiri prepared a large portal. "Master, I shall assist." Yoink! As soon as he felt the tug on Warp Gate, Kurogiri fell back on his brainwashing and portaled away as far as possible. "Dang it, I keep missing him," Izuku grumbled. "You guys gotta help All Might," Mei exclaimed. "I'll stay here in case anything goes wrong with the security." Tsuyu charged up for essence as she turned to Izuku. "You know what you have to do, Ribbit." She stated it as a fact, not a question. Izuku nodded. "I do. It's time to support Via Quirk Larceny." He said it! He said the thing! Mei excitedly pointed out. As All for One traded blows with All Might on the roof, he couldn't help but think he was at a disadvantage. Firstly, he was down a hand due to having to hold onto the briefcase. All Might was barely giving him a second to breathe, much less open the briefcase and activate the QAD. Secondly, All for One could notice how much muscle augmentation was helping All Might fight. His punches were nearly twice as strong. Fortunately, All for One had the perfect core combination that could send All Might back for just long enough to let him activate the QAD. He charged up air cannon and spring-like limbs, ready to deliver a devastating pushback. Then suddenly, both quirks disappeared. All for One's head immediately turned to Izuku, who was frantically grabbing at the quirks. All for One called upon as many speed quirks as he could and rocketed over to Izuku, grabbing onto his face and trying to take whatever quirks he could. What began could only be described as a quirk tug-of-war, with both All for One and Izuku pulling on an imaginary rope with equal force, with each side refusing to budge. All for One wanted nothing more than to crush Izuku's skull in his hands, but shock absorption was tougher than he thought. So, he was forced to hold still, as any loss of focus could cause Izuku to gain the upper edge and take even more quirks. This did not deter All Might and Tsuyu from wailing on him, however. Detroit Smash! Rainforest Kick! New Hampshire Smash! Tropical Axe! Pennsylvania Smash! Woodland Strike! With every blow All for One took, his grip on the metal rope would falter, causing more quirks to funnel into Izuku. He was losing quirks fast. There was only one more thing he could do. United States of... Before All Might could land the hit, All for One called up every energy manipulation quirk he had left and released a huge shockwave, knocking everyone back. It may have cost him a fourth of his quirks, but he finally had enough time to rip the briefcase open, throw off his helmet, and activate the QAD. As soon as he turned the device on, he could feel the surge of power rush through every cell in his body. His strength quirks roared beneath his muscles. His emitter quirks danced beneath his fingertips, just begging to be used. And his healing quirks made him feel better than he had in the last decade. As he saw All Might, Izuku, and Tsuyu tremble in fear, All for One let out a deep, bellowing laugh. "Ha ha ha ha! It's the end for you now, heroes. Take a good look at the last sight you'll ever see in your pitiful, worthless lives. All for One charged up a massive beam of pure energy, and then it stopped, and he felt a cold liquid rippling down his head. He turned around to see Melissa, hands outstretched and a cocky grin on her face. Metalwork, bitch! All for One felt all his bodily systems fail him at once. Without his helmet, there was nothing left to keep his lungs from burning out. Oh shit. Those were the last words he said before he fell to the ground and died. There were a few moments of silence on the roof before Izuku spoke up. Damn, Melissa, that was pretty metal. Everyone laughed at that. That was chapter 12, and I love the chapter. I think I stuttered a lot during that. I don't know if I cut those parts out or like all of those parts out, but yeah, so there might be a couple like pauses or like, you know, stuttering, whatever. But other than that, that is chapter 12, and I'm gonna go ahead and record chapter 13 and post that tomorrow. So, yes, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will post another video tomorrow, you know. Anyways, have a good day, or night, or afternoon, you know, whatever.